Welcome to Stories from the Center of the Universe, the podcast about the human experience.
All right, we're here at the Patrick Henry High School first induction ceremony ever. It's 2023, and I have Eddie Webb here. He's joined me here in the Center of the Universe to talk about what an induction means to you to be in the Patrick Henry High School, especially the first class. What does it mean to you?
Well, I think that it's always special to be honored. But in this situation where you're talking 75 years with the high school, that they finally got around to doing this and being in the first class, I mean, I don't think you can ask for any more than that.
I mean, they're looking at 65 years, I think, maybe a little bit more, and you're in the first class of 8.
Yeah, it's. I'm also the oldest living member.
We didn't have to mention that, Eddie. You look pretty young, man.
Well, thank you.
For a guy graduating, I'm seeing right here. You want me to say the year? What year you graduated?
That's all right. Go ahead.
Class of 1971. I might have been 2 years old in 1971. Hey, so basketball was your main thing.
Yeah, they listed as football and basketball, but I was a quarterback, and after my 10th grade year, and I had visions of getting hit by somebody like Damien Woody,
Right.
And I think my career will be longer if I just stick with basketball.
Basketball usually is less painful than football, for sure.
Most of the time, yes.
So what was it about basketball that you gravitated to it?
Well, I grew up right on the Randolph-Macon campus. My father, Paul, was the basketball coach there. So at any given time, from the time I moved to Ashland in 1956 as a 3-year-old until I actually finished college there, I was always 50 yards from the gym. So getting over there to get in the gym, just play basketball, it was a natural draw.
Yeah, and they have a real culture for basketball that I think, I would argue, started with your dad.
Well, I think that when you look at the history of what they've done in Randolph-Macon, from my father to Hal Nunley to Mike Rhodes to Nathan Davis and Josh Merkel, I mean, the success rates they've had there are just incredible.
So successful that they end up getting jobs that people would say are bigger jobs. I would argue Division III basketball, especially at Randolph-Macon, it's as exciting as any Division I game.
Well, small college basketball at Randolph-Macon, they're every year going to be one of the top 10 schools in the country. And I think that there's not a whole lot of difference between the top-level Division IIIs and the lower-level Division Is. Basically the same caliber player.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so back to you in high school. What position did you play in basketball?
Point guard.
You were the point guard.
I was a point guard. I was the reason nobody else got to shoot.
So you had a lot more points than assists?
Well, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Oh, that's funny. You're a lefty, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Did that give you an advantage being a lefty, you think?
Probably a little bit, because I don't think most people are used to playing against left-handers. So I think it probably was a little bit of a benefit.
Do you remember the game you scored 38 points in?
I scored 38 against J.R. Tucker, the last regular season game of my senior year.
And you couldn't miss?
Well, it depends on who you ask.
Well, that was well before the three-point line, because the
Yes.
three-point line didn't come into Virginia high schools until 88,
Yeah, I
think.
wish they had it then.
I graduated in 87. I'm
Okay.
still mad about it. But that 38 probably would have been in the 50s, maybe.
Well, it would have been more than 38, I can tell you that much.
Were you putting them up from that far out?
Yeah, I was probably more known for my outside shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were point guard at Patrick Henry.
Yeah, sure was.
Okay.
And you know what's interesting? I graduated in 71. Well, in 69, 70, that was the first year that they consolidated Johnny and Gandy and Patrick Henry.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So in 68, I'm a 10th grader playing on the JVs, and I just remember that the varsity, I don't think they had anybody taller than 6'3".
Yeah.
And they didn't do real well. Well, the next year when we consolidated, our starting five was 6'1", 6'2", 6'5", 6'7", 6'8".
Oh, my gosh.
So we were bigger in college teams.
Yeah.
So
And y'all dominated.
Yeah, we played well, and for 2 years in a row, we played really well. My senior year, we had some close games. Unfortunately, we won them, but we got into the regionals, and I really felt like we had a chance to really move on to the states. But we had one problem, and that was playing Maggie Walker at Virginia State with 6,000 people in the stands, and they beat us and went on and won the state.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be intimidating, right? You're playing in front of maybe 300 or 400 people, but, man, 6,000 people.
Yep. So it was a great experience.
They could fit 6,000 people at Virginia State?
Oh, yeah. They had it. They were sitting in the aisles and everywhere. You couldn't have gotten anybody else in there.
Oh, my gosh. Who's your biggest rival in high school?
Well, back then it was Lee Davis.
Okay.
And what is really interesting, the coach at Lee Daviston was a guy by the name of Doug Salmon. Doug had played for my father at Randolph-Macon, and when he was at Randolph-Macon, he actually lived at our house.
Oh,
so
you knew the opposing coach.
I knew him quite well.
That's wild. Was it any doubt you were going to go to Randolph-Macon?
I would say probably not. I looked at Richmond, I looked at a couple other schools, but when I was growing up, time I was 12 years old, I'm in the gym playing against the college students.
Yeah.
Then I'm playing, as I get older, playing with the Randolph-Macon players. And wherever you pick a school, 9 times out of 10, you're picking it because of the people on the team that you get along with, and I knew them all, so it was a pretty easy move for me.
And your dad was still coaching?
Still was. I played for him for 4 years.
And then you were. Are you still the president of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame?
No, I retired from the Hall of Fame. I did that for 23 years. I retired.
Oh my goodness!
A month before COVID hit.
Oh,
so,
my gosh!
My timing was really good right
there. Perfect.
Yeah,
yeah, perfect.
But no, I retired then, and now I'm still doing my basketball camps during the summer.
Oh, that's awesome. So you're staying really busy.
Stay active, play golf as much as I can.
Where do you live these days?
I live in Virginia Beach.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming here, and congratulations on being inducted in the first class. I mean, that's a pretty cool thing.
Well, thank you very much. It's definitely an honor.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Coach Ray Long, welcome to the Center of the Universe. Welcome to the first ever induction ceremony for the Patrick Henry High School Hall of Fame. I'm excited to talk to you because I remember in the 80s, I couldn't wait for Friday night to go watch Patrick Henry play. Y'all were dominant back then, and I think y'all were pretty dominant throughout your time there.
Right, yeah, especially in the 90s.
Well, you won a state championship, which, I mean, you coached for what, 27 years at Patrick Henry?
28.
28 years. I didn't mean to take that year away from you. 28 years at Patrick Henry, and you know how hard it is to get that far into the tournament and then to win it is got to be amazing.
We had great kids.
You had an O-line that was unbelievable.
Yeah, Patrick Henry is such a diverse school. We had great farm boys, great country kids, good kids from Ashland. So we had a good mixture. That year we won the state championship. We were as big as University of Virginia's line.
Yeah, that line was unbelievable. They all went on to play in college too, I think.
Yeah. Except for Damien's got 2 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, that's unbelievable too. I mean, can you imagine somebody who went to Patrick Henry, played football for you, has 2 Super Bowl rings?
Well, I think I'm the only coach in the area that ever had a first round choice in a draft.
Yeah, he was 17th overall. Yeah, that had to be an exciting day for you.
Oh, that was cool. That was.
And then when he won the Super Bowl both times, that had to be really exciting too.
That was unreal.
So I'm reading your bio, the summary they put together of your time at Patrick Henry. You were the Colonial District Coach of the Year basically half the time you coached, almost, right?
Yeah.
You were 13 times, and then All Metro Coach of the Year 7 times. A fourth of the time, you were the Metro Coach of the Year, All Metro. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, it all goes back to, like I said, the kids we had, and Jimmy Cobb, and Harold Henry, and Tom Swope, Sam Hart. We had a wonderful coaching staff.
Y'all were there together for a long time too,
But
right?
we were, when you go 7 years and undefeated district champions, and then one of the best football teams I had went 9-1, and we missed the playoffs.
That's crazy.
Did
you ever have a losing record?
Yeah.
Back early on, kind of thing.
Yeah, we most of the worst record we had was like 5-5.
Yeah. That's the average, right?
Yeah, well, we did that in 92. But I had 8 sophomores playing varsity.
Yeah, you knew you were going to be good 2 years later.
Oh, yeah, I knew. We were just waiting for that senior year because they were all fabulous football players as sophomore. They were just 15 years old.
Yeah, but already big back then, probably.
Right.
Yeah, and going through puberty and being 17, 18 years old was going to be something amazing. So you went to Randolph-Macon?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And you played ball there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I played for Coach Keller.
What position did you play?
I was a defensive back.
Okay.
And the year we won the New Rockney Bowl, I was what you call a rover back, which is more or less a strong safety now.
Right,
so.
right. Did you like playing defense?
Yeah.
It's fun hitting people.
That was my side of the ball.
Yeah.
Harold Henry and Jimmy had offense. I had to, defense was my side of the ball. So I owe a lot to those two men. They were both from this area. They both stayed with me when I got the job, and those two guys.
Coach Henry's still around.
Yeah.
Right, he's still living in town. I think he
he's
lives in the
still
same
in
house
town.
that when I was a
Same
kid.
house.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are you up to these days?
What am I up to?
Yeah.
Not much. I helped for about 9 years with the program.
Right.
I work with the long snappers and the kickers, which sometimes in high school get left behind.
Right.
And sometimes in high school, if they get left behind, you lose.
Yeah. Well, hey, so what does it mean to be inducted into this Hall of Fame? Because you were telling me before we started recording, you're in the J.R. Tucker Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Because you played at J.R. Tucker. You're in the Randolph-Macon Hall of Fame, and now you're in the first class ever for Patrick Henry.
This means a lot. Half your life you spend coaching in Ashland.
Yeah.
So, when you get recognized by, people from the county, it's special.
Yeah, it should be very special. I think it's really special. And your name is known throughout the area as being like a huge football name around here.
Yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience to walk out there on Friday night and knew you're going to win.
Yeah. 73% of the time, your time at Patrick Henry. That's an unbelievable winning percentage. You should be very proud of that.
Yeah, somebody told me that we averaged like 8 games a season for 28 years.
That's crazy. That's absolutely unbelievable. I am super excited to talk to you tonight, and I hope you have a great time tonight, and really appreciate everything you've done for Patrick Henry, and I hope you enjoy tonight. It's well-deserved.
Yeah, all right. Thanks.
Sonja Fridy Kinney, welcome to the Center of the Universe. I've mentioned that we're at the first ever induction ceremony for the Patrick Henry High School Hall of Fame, and you are one of the first 8 members to ever be in this Hall of Fame. Is that cool?
That is really cool. I am really grateful, and I feel blessed to be one of the first.
When I read your bio, or the quick summary paragraph that we got in here, it's about half a page in the booklet here. You still hold 3 records at UVA, and I know this is about Patrick Henry tonight, but you and I both went to UVA. I cannot believe you.
I do.
I mean, you look like you're 27. you may be a little bit older than that. Those 3 records are held for a long time. What are those?
400
records?
meters outdoor, 60 meters indoor, and the 500 meters indoor.
500's a thing, I guess, indoor.
Yes.
Okay. And they still run all those events.
They do.
And nobody's beating your time in those 3 events.
Nope.
What was your 60?
I used to hold them 1 and 2, and they were broken in the last 3 years.
Wow.
So
What was your 60 time?
I don't even remember.
So your start quickness has got to be unbelievable.
Yeah, but you know what? Most of my success at UVA was in the my record is 51.69.
So you ran basically a quarter mile
Yes.
in less than a minute.
Yes. And the interesting thing, and I tell people all the time, I made the U.S. team in the 400 meters, but I never ran the 400 meters at the ACC meet or anything because, when you're on a team, you go where the coach needs you. So I ran the 1 and 2, and I long jumped as well. and so I never ran the 400, but that's what I went to nationals in. That's what I made the U.S. team in, was the 400 meters.
You're obviously naturally fast, and you obviously worked really hard. What do you think it's more about, your effort or what God gave you?
I think in high school it was what God gave me. In college it was definitely effort.
Yeah, because the competition gets a lot harder, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're on the national team. That's really cool.
I was on the national team. I got a gold medal at the World University Games.
Nice.
And I was in '87. The World Championships were in Rome, and I traveled with the team to Rome.
That's crazy.
And I traveled to the Pan Am Games in Indianapolis that year.
That's awesome.
Yep.
What are the highlights from the Pan Am Games?
Well, when I went, they had just opened that brand new track up in Indianapolis, and it was supposed to be the fastest track ever in life. But I got to see Florence,
Griffith Joyner. Yeah.
I got to see Bobby Kersey.
Yeah, that's right.
I got to see all those people, and I was obviously just awestruck. But for me, that was a highlight, just seeing all those people, being on the same track with those people. I didn't race against any of them, but being on the same track with them was just
It's really cool. I mean,
really
those are
cool.
huge names in sports,
Harvey
period.
Lance was the big sprinter at the time. It was just for me, just being there.
This is all inspiring for me to be here. I can't believe you have 3 records at UVA. It's unbelievable. And you also did gymnastics.
I did do gymnastics.
Which did you like more?
Probably when I was in high school, I liked gymnastics more. And here's a little for gymnastics. I was the first person from the Central Region to place in the state meet in gymnastics.
Really?
Yes.
Well, how long did Patrick Henry have a gymnastics team? It wasn't there for very long when you started, was it?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What was your best event?
The vault. I ended up second in the vault in the state, but we actually tied. But when you tie in gymnastics, they go to your second vault. And so her second vault was higher than mine. So yeah.
What was the scoring system back then? It was based on 10, right?
Yes.
And so, and how many digits did it go past the decimal point? Like 3? I don't know. I mean, it's crazy for a tie like that.
Right.
So, the official record is
second.
Yeah.
But we had the same score.
And now people that listen to this will know.
That's great.
That you tied for first.
Like I said, the first person from the Central Region to ever place in the state.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Did you do all the events?
I did. I hated the bars. Hated the bars, but Miss LaSturgeon, who was a coach at the time,
I know Miss LaSturgeon.
To be, Sonja, you got to do it. You got to be all around. You have to be all around. And so she talked me into doing those crazy bars.
All right. So on the vault, what was your best? What was the one that was your best at that meet?
Sukahara.
What is? You got to tell me what that is.
That is a round off the board, hands touch, and you do a backflip off the vault. And there were only a few thrown at that time.
It sounds crazy to me.
A lot of people doing them. Now it's like everybody does them.
but back then,
yeah, there were not a lot of people throwing that ball.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think the most aesthetically pleasing event for me is the floor exercise.
That was my second best event.
Did you enjoy
doing
that?
I was powerful. I was a tumbler. That's what I wasn't the graceful balance beam, beautiful balance beam person.
But you have to do things on the balance beam that the 99.9% of humanity would never even think about.
Where I lost all my points on the balance beam was all the pretty stuff.
Right.
I was throwing back handsprings on the balance beam. I was doing really hard tricks, but I just wasn't super graceful at all.
When you're doing a backflip, you're basically you're blind on a front flip.
Yeah.
Backflip, you actually can see it.
Backflip is much easier than a front flip because you can't see your landing on a front flip.
So how many times did you actually have to practice that on the beam before you're like, I'm good?
All the time. But, we start with a floor beam, and you practice on the floor beam, and then you kind of graduate up.
That's a lot of repetitions, though.
That beam is nerve-wracking.
So what does it mean for you to be in the first class here?
It's just a huge honor. It is just a huge honor. I'm actually on the committee, and the reason I got on the committee is I wanted women represented. I'm
sure.
Like, I don't want all these men getting on this committee, and that's all we're going to see.
Right.
And I wasn't on the nominating committee. I didn't choose myself. We had a separate committee for that, and they went and talked to different coaches and whatever. I don't know who
they thoroughly vetted, and they did a nice job picking who they picked.
And so I'm honored. I'm honored. I'm up here with, the Damien Woodies of the world, and it's just a huge honor.
You're inducted into the same Hall of Fame at the same time, first class, with a 2-time Super Bowl winner.
I know. Is that crazy?
I think Coach Ray Long was in here just before you, and he said Damien's the only first-round draft pick to come from this area.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You want to hear another little 6 degrees of separation?
Sure.
When I got to Liberty Middle School, my mom was not a sports person. I didn't go through Little League. I didn't do any of that. We had field day at Gandy, and
Right.
I was obviously fast. And when I got to Liberty, it was Coach Long who said, "You need to run track."
And he was
that
right.
Yes, he was. He was exactly right. And back then, I did anything I was told. I was like, okay. And so I ran track.
So what did you do with your time before you went to Liberty? Because, I mean, you were 13, 14 years old by the time you went to Liberty, right?
I mean, I just hung around, running around outside playing football with the boys. I was a big tomboy.
Okay, yeah.
It's so funny because I grew up on Jamestown Road, which is from 698 outside of Ashland. And,
Yeah, I know where it is.
And I tell them all the time, you guys made me. You guys made me running around with you boys. And I used to run the ball when we played football. And when I would score, they would throw the football at me and hit me in the back of the head as I walked back down.
Well, I mean, if you're playing with older boys and just boys in general, yeah, it should have a positive impact on you athletically.
Absolutely.
Now, psychologically and other ways, maybe not. But
Yeah, back when kids played outside, I was always outside.
yeah, I don't understand what's happening these days. Well, do you live in the area?
I live in Henrico.
Okay.
Yep.
But you grew up Jamestown Road.
I grew up on Jamestown Road.
There wasn't a whole lot going on out there back in the day.
It really wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. You just ran around outside making stuff happen.
Yeah, and your parents didn't know where you were half the time, probably.
Half the time.
Yeah.
And my mom, like I said, my mom knew nothing about sports, organized sports, anything. So she was just like, okay, they want you to run track? Okay. I said, Mom, I have to get a physical, because first they were like, because I don't know if you knew, it was a man named Mr. Goldsmith at John M. Gandy.
Okay.
He introduced me to gymnastics.
Okay. What was his name?
Mr. Goldsmith.
I know the name.
Okay.
I went through
his
Gandy.
first name.
Yeah.
He was a PE teacher, I guess.
Yeah.
And so when I got to, I don't know how they knew when I got to Liberty that I needed to do gymnastics, or maybe it was me that said I want to do
Oh,
gymnastics.
so you didn't even get into gymnastics till you were in 8th grade?
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right.
And you were doing really well 4 years later.
Right.
That's nutty. Did you think about going to college for gymnastics?
I accomplished so much more in track, and it was just, I had track coaches looking at me. I never had any gymnastics coaches looking at me.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
You kind of go where the scholarships are.
So I'm very happy to meet you. I'm very happy that you're inducted into the
Thank you.
first round here. It's amazing, and have a great night. Donnie Morris, welcome to the Center of the Universe for the 3rd time. You were on by yourself a while ago. I was lucky enough to have you and Jock Jones on together, and now I've got you on a 3rd time here at the Patrick Henry High School Hall of Fame. This is pretty cool, isn't it?
God is good.
Now, my listening audience can't see you right now. What color is your jacket?
The Hall of Fame, Super Bowl Hall of Fame.
Like NFL Hall of Fame color.
Yeah, NFL Hall of Fame.
You walked in
Yes.
down the hall here. I saw you. I'm like, that's your personality, though.
Yes,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, so what does it mean to be in the Hall of Fame here?
It's an honor. It's an honor to throughout Hannibal County and vicinity, because you have a lot of gifted and talented athletes that have come through Patrick Henry, and just to be honored in the first class.
Yeah, it's really cool, man.
Is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think they looked at around 65 to 70 school years, and they picked 8 people.
Exactly.
And you're one of those 8, though.
God is good.
And you were the player of the year your senior year.
Yes.
Can I tell a story of me and you in middle school or junior high?
Of course.
So Donnie was the starting running back. I was the 3rd string water boy, but I dressed.
But you brought good water.
I did. Took my job seriously, Donnie.
Cold.
And I did dress for practices and maybe games too. I got in a little bit. Anyway, we did an Oklahoma drill, and back then the equipment wasn't great. Donnie, you know the equipment was not very good. And they tell you that you're going to be carrying the ball in the Oklahoma drill, and then they pick me to be on the other side. And I'm like, they're trying to kill me. They are, because you were a lot bigger than me. And when you hit me, I said this on the last podcast with you, that it felt like an 18-wheeler had run me over. But you weren't known for, I mean, you like the physicality, right?
Yes, I did.
But you're also known for being deeply coordinated in every part of your body, and you were lightning fast. And when I asked you what you liked about the game of football, what did you say? You loved.
I love the contact.
Yeah.
The sport. Yeah, I like that physicalness. and the roughness.
Defense or offense, you don't care.
Never the difference.
And you dished it
I
out
can
both
give
ways.
It, yeah, I can give it either
Yeah.
way.
And
I
one-
used to could. I can't do it now.
But you're still fast, aren't
yeah.
you?
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
You still race the young ones?
Yeah, whenever they want to try me. But as of late, they've seen what I used to do.
Yeah.
So, no, I think I'm going to hang the shoes up there.
Really? You're too young for that, Donnie.
Oh, no, I'm just hanging the racing shoes up, nothing else.
Oh, okay.
I can put cleats on at any time.
Do you have a memorable game from your senior year? Most memorable?
I just finished talking to Coach Long a few minutes ago, and he said, Don, I'm gonna throw some at you. You remember this game? It was fourth and 2, and you was in the end zone. It was time to punt the ball, and you decided to fake the punt and run it 101 yards for a touchdown.
That's the record.
I said,
That's the
yeah,
record.
And I said, yeah, really? I said, I did. I said, he said, somebody came up to me after it was all over with and said, hey, did you call that play? He said, what play? The play that Donnie on 4th down, he faked it in his own end zone and runs 101 yards for a touchdown on a fake punt. Did you call that play, Coach Long? He said, no, it was only Donnie and God. I hadn't seen Coach in a while, man. It's just memories.
Yeah, no, he coached. The brochure here says it, and we talked about it. He coached for 28 years,
Yes.
and almost a 73% winning percentage. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. The 80s and the 90s, I think, were in my opinion, the dominant
Yeah.
times for him. But yeah, he was. Was he a tough coach?
No. Coach Long was a laid-back coach.
Laid back. He just wanted people to learn and get
He
better.
had coaches that were around him, like Coach Swope. Yeah, that was a tough coach.
Swope had a reputation.
Yeah, he didn't play either.
What about Coach Henry?
Coach Henry was a disciplinarian, but at the same time, he was more of a teacher.
Yeah.
He could teach, and he works on your stamina as far as running backs. That's why he stayed in the running backs. The stamina and the discipline of running, just keeping yourself.
It worked.
Yeah, Coach Long, Coach Swope, and Coach Henry were. I mean, they were outstanding.
And they were together a long time,
Yes.
too.
You had other coaches that came. Coach Carr, he stayed on the offense side.
Yeah.
But he took the line.
One of my favorite plays that y'all would run is they toss it out to you,
Power
left
pitch.
or right. I think usually left probably.
Power pitch. Either way,
And then you would let it fly down the field.
halfback pass to Huck Minor.
Right. And Jay was the quarterback.
Yeah.
I would argue you threw the ball as well, if not a little bit better than Jay.
Jay had an arm. He had a missile. But
So Jay had the better arm?
I was a little bit more accurate than Jay was. Yeah.
But you had a strong arm, too.
I played baseball, so you had to kind of be accurate in baseball anyway. And Jay didn't play baseball. He had a strong arm, but he just wasn't. He couldn't hit the seams like I could.
I mean, that's the way you're supposed to throw it, right? You're supposed to
Exactly.
throw it accurately.
That's right.
You and I grew up together playing sports.
That's right.
And played football, basketball, and baseball.
Yes.
That was not fun playing against you.
Wow.
In any
We
of
was
the
on the
sports.
same team.
Well, we were once or twice, but usually we weren't. And your teams beat my teams a lot, maybe like 73% of the time.
Those were the good old days.
Those were fun.
Yeah, it was.
Were you, Rico, and I on the same basketball team
Yes,
one year?
we were. And he'd be out here tonight.
Is he? I haven't seen Rico in forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Are you excited to see some people? You got to see Coach Long.
I'm excited, man. And it's just good to represent Patrick Henry High School in every way, and because of God's grace, this opportunity has presented itself, and it's an honor. It really is.
I told Rob Dull, who's on the committee for this Hall of Fame, and Ross Luck, I said, how are y'all making the selections? And they told me how the process worked. And I'm like, well, then Donnie's definitely in. They're like, well, we're not part of that committee. But I'm like, there's no way Donnie's not a first-round kind of guy.
Thank you.
I mean, I couldn't imagine you not being in this first class. Yeah. You're the best athlete I was ever on a football field, court, or baseball diamond with.
Well, some people would say that, some won't, but it is. I just take it as it's given, but I gave 110% whatever I did, and I could, as of now, as of 55 years old, I continue to do the same.
Yeah. And you grew up Montpelier, right?
Yeah, right Beaver Dam Montpelier.
Yeah, okay, right on. What are you up to now?
I still try to stay in shape. I was playing in the 35 and older league down in Hamilton County basketball.
You're still playing in that?
Yeah, well, I tweaked the Achilles, so I kind of backed off a little bit. But I may be going back out. I'm doing cornhole leagues now.
Okay.
I still shoot horseshoes, but I don't have to do a lot of rough stuff. I just standing still.
It's hard to get hurt playing cornhole
Yeah.
or horseshoes.
I've seen people do it.
No, you have not.
Yeah.
Are they younger than you?
Walk backwards and trip up on this or that. Yeah, but younger than I am. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. Well, I love your jacket. Do you want to talk about your shoes?
I got these shoes because of Norfolk State alumni, but they were greens. I put it with my outfit that goes when I go to Norfolk State games. But it so happened today, my daughter had her sneakers on. I said, well, I'm gonna wear some nice shoes. Dad, you gotta wear those.
And let's end this, Donnie, with you mentioned Norfolk State. You still have the punt return, is a punt or kick return record?
Punt return record.
Still there.
Still.
And it's been a minute since you
Since
played there.
88. Yeah.
I mean, that's a long time, Donnie. That's
And
crazy.
I have a friend with me, Eric Steele from Maryland, is with me tonight, and he pulls up all these stats, and I'm like, where you get all this stuff from? You know, I'm not really a whole lot with the computers, but he pulling stuff up. I was like, well, I only imagine. I was all CIAA, I didn't know all that.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you're the only one in this class or being inducted tonight that I grew up with, and I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you, and
Thank
I'm
you.
very excited for you. So
Thank you.
enjoy tonight, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Lizzie, Powell, Hissey, welcome to the Center of the Universe, and welcome to the Patrick Henry High School Hall of Fame induction ceremony, first class ever, and you're in it.
I am.
Do you believe it?
No, it's pretty shocking and unreal. I don't know.
Yeah,
never thought about it.
Well, you thought about it a little bit today.
Well,
I'm
yes,
sure
of
at some
course,
point.
of course.
When did you get notified?
In the summer, a couple months ago. I don't remember exactly when, but
Do you know where you were when you heard? If
I
I was
was.
told I was about to be in my high school's Hall of Fame,
Mm-hmm.
Athletics Hall of Fame, I'd be pretty darn excited about it.
yes, I was in the car. We were heading down to the beach, and we had stopped at a friend's welcoming party to her first house, and my husband announced it to everybody. There was a little celebration there too.
That's pretty cool.
So.
Yeah, so you track and field star at Patrick Henry back in 2010. You graduated.
Yes.
And how did you get attracted to track and field in the first place?
So I did pretty much everything that my older sister did, from when we were, little babies to even still today. We're wearing the same color shirt right now. But she started in gymnastics and then transitioned to pole vaulting, and I did the exact same thing. And I just wanted to be just like her.
Okay, so that makes sense for you. Why did your sister want to do pole vaulting? That's a pretty unique endeavor.
Yeah, I think it came down to, as gymnasts, it's kind of a certain height that you get to, and we got too tall for gymnastics. And our gymnastics coach's husband was on the Russian Olympic pole vault team, and so he got us into it that way. So he kind of recruited us from gymnastics to pole vaulting. And
Who was your gymnastics coach?
Nadia Osipenko,
Okay.
and then Val Osipenko was our pole vault coach.
Okay, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Did you
yeah.
take to it right away?
I did not. My sister did. I hated it for a good year or so. My sister said, stick it out 6 months, see how it goes. So I did. It's just something to do. Eventually, I ended up loving it. And
loving it meant you were going to practice all the time and you were
Yep.
going to get really, really good.
Yeah.
What's your personal record for
it is 13.8 or 417 meters.
That seems crazy to me.
It's pretty high.
Is the equipment a lot better now than it was in 2010?
Yes, it is. It's significantly.
Isn't that crazy?
I know. I mean, it's just been a few short years.
Yeah, it hasn't been
and
that
it's
long.
just come so far.
Yeah, pole vault. Did you do anything else in track and field? Or
I
you
did.
were a specialist?
I was a sprinter, and I played with some long jumping and hurdling, but primarily pole vaulting.
You did a lot, though.
I did. I liked to keep busy. I felt like it kind of got my head into my head.
Your sister's here tonight. Is she the kind of sister that is super happy for you that you're in the
She
Hall of
is.
Fame? Or
Yep.
is she a little jealous, maybe?
I don't think so. No.
I'm sure she's not. I haven't met your sister. I just met
Yes.
you. That's probably a question.
the best.
I probably should not have asked that question. It's a little unfair. And so you pole vaulted in college as well.
I did. Yep.
Yeah, what was that experience like?
It was pretty crazy. I went to Virginia Tech, and I had gone through 3 years there. I kind of went through a mental block.
In general,
Okay.
or for the sport?
For the sport.
Or the yeah.
Yeah, for pole vaulting. So
Yeah.
basically, I just couldn't jump. I couldn't get up out of the air, which for pole vaulting is pretty important.
That's terrifying that you
Very.
couldn't get past that.
Yeah. So it was definitely hard to get through, but I still believed in myself. Long story short, transferred to William & Mary, and got back into vaulting there, and I was able to get through that mental block, and that's when I had my personal best of 13.8 or 4:17 meters. And
What do you think the block was about?
I'm not too sure. I tell myself it's probably from my cancer in high school and just everything I went through with that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's kind of this big question mark. I still trying to figure out, but
You're a cancer survivor, and now you're being inducted to your high school's Hall of Fame. Does that seem otherworldly a little bit?
It
to you?
does.
Especially if you think about
It's such an
what you
honor.
went through back then.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Never would have thought this would happen. And
Yeah.
here we are today. It's
You're,
really cool.
You're effectively, I think that I should know this number. I think it's 65 to 70 years of athletes from Patrick Henry they were looking at. And you're one of the first 8 being inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That's awesome for you.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. You obviously were very, very good.
I
You're
enjoy
being-
my
you're being
sport.
humble. You're being
I
humble.
like to have fun.
That's awesome. And you were, I imagine you were academically inclined through high school too.
Yes, I was.
Were you more academic than you were an athlete, you think?
If I'm being honest, probably not. My goal was to make Olympics, and I had my sights on that versus, okay, I just need to get good grades and make it through school.
How close did you get to your Olympic dream?
Technically, just a few inches off, but
Oh,
there's
wow.
more to it with that. But then I had a rotator cuff injury that prevented me from training more, and so that's ultimately what ended my career. But yeah, so I was very happy.
But
with
you got
everything.
close, and,
Yeah.
and people say it all the time. It's definitely cliche, but it's about the journey, not the destination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's so true.
Do you know the history of pole vaulting, how it started?
I don't know it all too well.
It's a strange event.
It is.
It's a strange event amongst other strange events that are happening at a track
Right.
and field event.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I was always somebody that never really learned the ins and outs of my sport because I thought it would mess up my head too much. So that's why I never really learned it too much.
I'm going to go look it up. I'm sure Google will tell me
oh
all
yeah,
about
absolutely.
it. Very cool. And William and Mary versus Virginia Tech, are those environments wildly different, or they're basically two big Virginia schools?
They're very different, but at the same time, they're very similar. From like the coaching aspect and the facility, from the facility aspect, it's very different. But I had great experiences at both, and you had your team, your coaches, and everybody's so supportive there. It was just a great experience at both.
I'm guessing the facilities were a little bit nicer at Virginia Tech.
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
But, it's all the same.
William and Mary is probably a top 10 school in the country in terms of academic orientation. So I can't imagine they had world-class athletic facilities.
Right.
But I'm sure they had really good
Oh
facilities.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter how good of a facility something is. As long as you have a place to jump and run, that's all you need.
Yeah. So last weird question.
Yeah.
What was it like walking around with the, what do you call the thing that you actually vault with? What is it
The
called?
pole.
I walked right into that one. That's awful. Did you have to go to strange places with the pole?
We did, in terms of traveling.
Yeah.
We had to strap them on the car and drive on the highway, so you get some weird looks at. But it was always an adventure, especially if, you caught the wind funny and the poles would shift on the car and you have to pull over and fix them.
And this is you driving.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Does it come in like a bag?
Mm-hmm. So you can have, a PVC type
Okay.
pole bag
Yeah.
and carry them all there. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Lizzie, congratulations. I'm very excited for you, and I hope
Thank
you have a great
so
time
much.
tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Dominic Smith, welcome to the Center of the Universe. We're here at the Patrick Henry Hall of Fame induction ceremony. 65 to 70 years of people going to Patrick Henry. They looked at all the athletes across all the sports that are available in high schools back then and now, and only 8 people are being inducted into your high school's Hall of Fame. What does that mean to you?
It's a privilege and an honor. Kudos to the 65 years of high athletic ability from all the Patrick Henry athletes, and I'm just privileged and honored to be one of the ones who was selected. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And you were a baller in 2 sports.
correct.
Do you think you were put in because of both sports or primarily basketball?
Probably both.
Yeah.
Probably both. I was pretty good in both.
Dominic, I read in your bio here, and actually I didn't know this. I didn't find this on Google, but the bio has it here. You still have the record for total interceptions for the state of Virginia, and I told you that before we started recording. And you're like, yeah, and I returned 10 of them.
Yeah.
Is that a record too?
I don't know if returning 10 of them, it might be. I don't know if they had that one recorded. 'Cause I think they just list that as just touchdowns. But
Right.
As far as interceptions, Coach Hart was the defensive coordinator at the time, and he took pride in man-to-man matchups and linebackers blitzing. So you really had to be pretty good to play for Coach Hart.
Were you a lockdown corner?
I was definitely a lockdown
Were you
corner.
the Dion of Patrick Henry's
I was
football
definitely
team?
the Dion of Patrick Henry. Definitely. Percy James and my other brother Danielle was pretty close up there as well.
I've had Danny on the
yeah, so both
podcast.
of them were pretty good as well. But yeah, I was.
Oh, what a defensive backfield!
Yes.
With
With Ricky Wilkerson. Now
Yeah.
they were before me.
Yeah,
they
yeah,
were
yeah.
there. They were the awesome '94 team, who was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I came right after. I was a freshman in '94, so I had to follow those shoes from '95, '96, and '97. So
Yeah, I guess people that threw towards you didn't know what they were up against, right?
they must not have.
I mean,
They must not have.
I mean, the internet wasn't around really, right back then,
No.
and so they just didn't know. they learned pretty
They
quickly.
learned
though.
pretty quick when 10 of them got returned after 17 of them caught. So,
Yeah. So you were. Yeah, I think you were inducted for both. Yeah, absolutely. I can't. Football has to be part of the consideration, considering how many interceptions you had.
Yes, I would consider that, but my basketball career flourished probably my junior and senior year, and then going to junior college and the University of Houston, then overseas. So that
Yeah, you played in Greece.
I played in Athens, Greece. I actually played in Athens, Greece when they were doing the Olympics.
Oh, when the Olympics were
I
there.
actually got to see Muhammad Ali.
Oh,
in
that's
the
so
Olympics.
cool.
Yeah, so that was just the highlight of my career, regardless.
Oh my gosh, how long did you play over there?
Played over there for 3 years.
Okay.
And, the food is different now. The language barrier is totally different now. But, I love home. So
Yeah.
I got homesick really, really fast.
Well, you went to Texas for junior college, right?
4 years in Texas.
Yeah. I mean, that Texas is not Virginia.
No, but Texas is very, very southern, but very welcoming. They welcome. They have that very, what is it called? Southern hospitality.
Right.
They do welcome you in. So I love Texas.
So, Dominique, you're such a big deal in Ashland that my mom was texting me, asking me questions about you before we started recording. Oh, man. Basketball, what position did you play?
Point guard.
Did you shoot a lot?
I shot a lot, yeah. I wasn't a typical point guard back in the 80s and 90s where they averaged 13 assists and 10 points. I was the new breed, the Allen Iverson breed, where we're going for 20, 30, 40 points.
Well, I don't know if you met Eddie Webb before.
I do. He's
yeah.
left-handed as well. Me and him both are left-handed.
Lefties, and he said, yeah, it's a shame that the other 4 guys on the court that play with me because I didn't pass it to him a lot.
No, Mr. Webb Mr. Webb is really good to me. I've been knowing him for years.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is your connection Patrick Henry?
Absolutely, and his father used to do camps at VCU with Sonny Smith.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So I was invited to a lot of camps that they had, and then his father actually helped me get to the Bob Givens camp where they got you ranked in high school back in North Carolina.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yes, so Mr.
Yeah.
Webb, all the Webbs, his brother Doug Webb, me and him talk this day still, the one that works at Randolph-Macon.
Yeah.
Sports Page and Trackside and other businesses, sponsor for Randolph-Macon as well. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, let's talk about it. You mentioned it. Normally I ask people what they're up to these days. I kind of know the answer, but tell people what you do these days.
Well, I'm an entrepreneur. I own restaurants and real estate. I own Sports Page Bar and Grill in Ashland, Trackside, Kitchen and Wine in Ashland, Huddle Up Sports Bar, Andy's, and we just bought a new location, the old Ashland Coffee and Tea on the railroad tracks.
So 6 places.
Correct.
Are you actively managing all 6?
I have really good managers.
Okay.
I'm involved to day-to-day, usually from 9 to 5. I try to be involved, but I have really good managers, really good staff and support.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And what is it about being an entrepreneur that because that's prolific, man? You buying your sixth place?
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, you really have to be dedicated, and that's, with sports is one of the things that I encourage my kids, is that sports actually helps you get dedicated and committed in life. Getting up early in the morning and have to work out is no different than getting up in the morning and have to work.
Right.
You just got to fight for your goals and your dreams.
Yeah, so what was it like playing basketball at Patrick Henry?
With Coach Kinney is the greatest coach I ever had. But it was competitive because we really had good kids. So E.T. Jackson and Lamar DeCordova and Ronald Samuels and Nicky Saunders, even Philip Cobb. I mean, everybody was competitive. You didn't have a starting position unless you earned it in practice. And back then, every team that you played was really, really good. Even Godwin, Tucker, Atley, Lee Davis, TJ, John Marshall. It was always competitive. And back then, everybody played on the playground, so you had to learn how to get tough and learn how to play against older competition. So that's how we got good.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was your best game in terms of scoring points in high school?
Beating Eddie Webb record, scoring 39 in a game.
Oh,
yeah, his record was 38.
Wait a minute.
They didn't put that in
That's
there.
That's not in here.
I don't like boosting on myself.
Well, you're recording right now, Dominic.
I know. I had to throw that one in there because me and him talked about it just a few minutes ago.
Oh, that's funny.
So his record was actually 38, and I beat that record.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was
that's a lot of points for a high school.
That's a lot
game.
of points. Yeah.
Now, look, if I'm Eddie, I say, well, I didn't have a 3-point line back in the day. That's what I would say.
He got to say that, but I don't think he could really shoot threes back then anyway. But he was a really good basketball player. So.
Dominic, it's great to meet you tonight.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
shocked that we probably met
a
long time ago, but it's great seeing you. Congrats on being in the Hall of Fame, and
absolutely
really excited for you.
Tell your mom I said hello.
I absolutely will.
All right, thank you.
Damien Woody, welcome to the center of the universe. Welcome to the first induction ceremony for the Patrick Henry High School Athletics Hall of Fame. To say that you were a shoo-in, but it still has to be an honor.
It is very humbling. I don't take anything for granted, and to be recognized for this honor by, all the people that were involved was truly amazing. It's crazy because they all reached out to my wife, and then she held it. She held it a surprise for the longest, and then she broke the news to me, and like I said, man, I was tickled to death, man, and so I'm just glad to be here. I've had NFL guys on my podcast before, but you're my first Super Bowl champ, and y'all did it twice when you were with the Patriots, right? Yes, I was part of the beginning of the dynasty with New England, so I won in 2001 and 2003. Yeah, that has to be amazing. But I'm going to try to stay focused on Patrick Henry. Yes. The only state football championship that Patrick Henry's ever enjoyed was your senior year. Yes. I tell people all the time, I'm not an expert on this. I'm talking to somebody who's on the team. Y'all's offensive line was crazy good. Yes. Y'all averaged almost 300 yards on the ground or something. Yeah, our offensive line was actually bigger than the Washington Commanders' offensive line at the time. Just our height and weight, we were bigger than the Washington Commanders' offensive line. That's unbelievable. Yeah. It was. We had a big spread. Written up about it. Calling us the country kitchen. Because we were so big, and it was one of them. I think one of those once in a lifetime type deals where everyone. I always call it, we were just like big old farm boys that just came up through the ranks, and we all came together at the right time, and we did something magical. Yeah, I was talking to Coach Long earlier on the podcast, and he said when those guys were sophomores, I was so excited for what 2 years from then was going to be like. Yeah, because y'all were big as sophomores. Yes, too. we were very big as sophomores, and the great thing was I always said that the key to a really good program is the pipeline. You have the pipeline, and you're running the same scheme. The players stay in the pipeline, and hopefully when they come up to varsity, that's where you hit it big. And for us, we had it all. We had the athleticism, we had size, the same scheme, and when we came up to varsity with Coach Long, it all just came together. How did Danny Darricott see over the line? Well, that was the beauty of it, right? Because we were so big as the offensive line that because we ran the option, as far as our offense is concerned, no one could see him. So by the time he got through the line of scrimmage, he was gone. So that was the beauty of it. And, not only was our offensive line big, but we had 2 tight ends that were, like NFL prototypical size tight ends. So we were just massive all across the board.
One was Aaron Kinney.
And then the other one was Keith Short, who went on. He got a scholarship to play at Virginia Tech. So we had really big tight ends.
So the line, to include both tight ends, all played D1 football.
Yes.
And 2 of y'all went on to the pros.
Yes, that is correct. Right here in the center of the universe in Ashland, Virginia.
Yeah, unbelievable. What part of town, or did you grow up out in the country?
Yeah, I grew up out in the country. I grew up in Beaver Dam.
Okay.
I grew up in Beaver Dam, and like I said, man, it's I've always said I'm a country boy at heart, and being able to see some of the teachers from Beaver Dam who taught me when I was in elementary school to catch up with them and see them, it's just been tremendous. But yeah, man, this is where it all started.
Can you imagine when you were 10 years old that you were going to end up winning 2 Super Bowls?
Listen,
from
man,
Beaver Dam.
Yeah, listen, I had no idea. I was a late bloomer. I wasn't huge early on. I started to grow a lot when I got to high school. Had no idea that I was going to be a Division I athlete. It just grew into me. Obviously, when you accomplish these type of things, a lot of people have to have influence on you to get you where you want to go. So like Coach Long, all the teachers, everyone that was, my teammates, everyone had an influence into me where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Did you gravitate to football right away as a kid?
Yes, I did gravitate towards football, but my parents didn't really want me to play football. It wasn't my mom and dad did not want me to play football because they were afraid that the baby was going to get hurt. But it was my grandparents who were like, that boy is too big not to be playing football. You need to let that boy play football. And so my grandfather was the one that really got me started playing football.
I tell people all the time the older generations were tougher than the younger generations. Like my grandfather, he scared my dad scared me, and I'm doing that to my son.
That's right.
It sounds like grandma and grandpa had something going on there.
Oh, they did. They scared the living bejesus out of my parents, and then they gave me the opportunity to go out there and play football.
And you're on ESPN all the time now.
I am. I had the opportunity, played 12 years in the league. And then towards the end of my career, I started interning with ESPN when I was playing with the New York Jets. And so once my career ended, they offered me a job like right after I retired. And I've been with ESPN for 12 years.
You're living a good life, Damien.
I'm doing okay. I'm first of all, I'm blessed with my wife, who I've been married to for 24 years. We have 7 beautiful children.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, 7 beautiful children, and I'm, like I said, man, I'm just blessed.
Yeah, so I've always wanted to ask you this question. Why Boston College?
That's a great question. Because people ask me all the time, how did you end up in Boston?
From Beaver Dam.
From Beaver Dam. Couple of things. One, primarily because, number one, it's a great school. That was a really big part of the equation. BC at the time, they came off a year where they were 10-3. They were like a program that was really on the rise. Their head coach, Dan Henning, he had coached under Bill Parcells, legendary NFL head coach. And I think the biggest thing that happened was he really won over my mother. Anyone can tell you in recruiting,
smart.
If you can win over the moms, you have a really good shot. And he did a heck of a job winning over my mother. And next thing I know, I'm in Boston.
UVA and Virginia Tech didn't have a chance.
They didn't have a chance. They offered my junior year, but it was both of those schools offered me my junior year, but it wasn't. It was Dan Henning and BC and being relentless that caused me to go up to BC. Because actually UVA was my childhood school. That's the school that I wanted to go to, and when the opportunity came, I didn't do it.
We've missed out on so many good players at UVA. I'm a UVA grad.
Okay.
It drives me crazy when we miss out on guys like you or Ronald Curry back in the day.
Yeah. It's man. It's crazy because I just grew up watching UVA football, loved it, and when the opportunity presented itself, I just felt like there was a better opportunity for me at Boston College. Now we didn't have great winning records at BC, but obviously things worked out well for me personally, and it was a great 3.5 years because I ended up leaving school early. Although I went back and finished my degree, but I wouldn't change anything about it.
Damien, I'm so happy for you tonight. I'm so happy for all the success you've had in your life, and I am especially grateful for how gracious you are to do this tonight. So I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great time tonight.
Thank you for having me on the podcast, and I'm really enjoying being here tonight.
You are by far my biggest name I've had on the podcast. Chris Tate, welcome to the Center of the Universe. We're here celebrating 8 people being inducted to the Patrick Henry High School Athletic Hall of Fame, and your dad is one of the 8, and he's no longer with us. You just shared with me he passed away about 11 years ago. What would this have meant to him, do you think?
Well, it would have meant everything to him. He was sort of raised by the city of Ashland. Before Patrick Henry opened, he actually lived, and his mother remarried and moved to Beaver Dam. Beaver Dam didn't have a high school at that program.
It still doesn't.
And then they had a Henry Clay did, and that's where the people that lived in Ashland went to school. And he lived with Doc Hughes for those 2 years so that he could play football for that team.
Oh, Beaver Dam had a high school back then.
Back then, yeah. Before it consolidated with.
Okay.
Before Patrick Henry, they consolidated 4 high schools, 4 smaller high schools to make Patrick Henry.
Oh, wow.
And Henry Clay had a football team, but Beaver Dam did not.
Huh.
So when his father died when he was 12, and all of his siblings and mother moved to Beaver Dam, and he begged to stay, and Doc Hughes let him live at his house. And
Dr. Hughes, who owned the pharmacy?
Pharmacy, yes.
Yeah.
He lived there, and he was a soda jerk and worked there, and a different family often would feed him at night. And he sort of was, in that way, raised by the city of Ashland.
Yeah, he was raised by Ashland. That's
by
awesome.
Ashland.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. What are your memories of your dad? Do you believe that he, like his presence and
he
who he was?
A presence, and he appreciated Ashland and Coach Rudisil. Rudisil was like a father figure to him. You know, his father died when he was 12, and sort of helped him move into a positive direction in his life, because he could have gone a lot of different directions. And Coach Rudisil gave him that. And I was telling people today, he came to a Patrick Henry game almost every year.
Oh, wow.
He would come, even when they weren't particularly good in the 70s, he would come up and watch a game, and he always knew what was going on and was involved in the system, and was very fond. If you ask him where he's from, he'd say he's from Ashland, Virginia.
That's really cool. How did people that played with him or played against him describe the way he played?
He was a very intense, ferocious player. And he played, he only had one eye. He lost his eye when he was 11. It was shot at by a BB gun here in town.
Oh,
in Ashland.
that's
and
awful.
So he could only play, he had to play left guard, because when he pulled, he had to be able to, he had to play right guard. When he pulled, he had to be able to see into the line. So he could only play on one side of the line. And so, and it was sort of he didn't get a glass eye until he really went to college. So he was always a little nervous about what people thought of him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he had such a good group of friends. To the day he died, the Topper Davis and Ronnie Grubbs and the people like that, Craig Hoblob, stayed in touch, and they all stayed very much together. My mother and he met, she was 2 years younger, and here at Patrick Henry. And so they got married several years after he graduated.
So your mom graduated with my
class of 63.
My parents graduated from Patrick Henry 63.
Right, and she was Joan Longest.
Okay.
Was her name.
Yeah.
And she was the majorette, and there's a picture of the two of them walking off the field, and of them after a game. And he was a big man for his time. He was a big, he was 225, 230 pound high school football player back in those days.
That was huge.
And he could really run. And he ended up going to the University of Richmond and had a wonderful career there. Coach, stayed very involved in the university
for decades.
For decades, till the day he died.
Yeah.
Till the day he died. And he just, but Ashland was his home, and he always loved to come back here. He always had a lot of friends that worked here. If he came, we would go to the old Andes for lunch from time to time, and he would go in there and he would know everybody that walked through there or knew somebody that knew them or knew him in that way. And
Ashland's that kind of place.
And one of the things, he did a radio show with Al Coleman.
Yep, Big Al.
The Big Al Coleman show. And one of the reasons he knew so much about football and about Ashland, he was the ball boy for Randolph-Macon from the time he was 8 to about 14.
So he got a ton of exposure early.
But Ashland meant everything. Patrick Henry and Coach Rudisil really, and he considered himself a patriot.
Yeah. No, it's a tight knit community in Ashland, and it sounds like your dad benefited very nicely
from
that.
From it, and very much, and a lot of people took care of him and helped him along the way from Ashland.
He played both ways, right? He played defensive line and offensive line. And he was in college. He played offense. In high school, he was more known as a defensive player because he was so big and fast for those times. Yeah, and he had, sounds like, the mindset to be ferocious too.
Yes.
Could if he hadn't had the accident when he was younger, do you think he would have played other positions beside the line?
Well, and it hurt him a little bit when he when the colleges were looking at him because it was a risk and when he finished in college, the NFL, when they came around, really couldn't do anything because of the one eye. They just wouldn't.
I don't think anybody's ever played with one eye in the NFL. Yeah.
So, but he that was one of the things, and it also affected. He loved baseball, and he had to go from a right-handed hitter to a left-handed hitter when that happened. And Topper Davis and those guys called him the Mick when he was little because he was a Mickey Mantle fan, and he was a very good baseball player.
And he was swinging from his natural side.
Point, but before he switched, he was a dominating baseball player.
Yeah, man.
And then when he had to switch, he just couldn't do it.
Yeah, but he tried.
He did it, and he loved the game. He loved most any sporting event.
How far did you travel today?
I live in Richmond.
Oh, okay, so not too
Richmond.
far.
Not far at all.
Okay.
32 minutes.
So you've been in this area your entire life?
My entire life. I own a business, and I'm up in Ashland probably every other week.
Can we say the name of the business?
Mr. Sandless, a hardwood floor finishing company.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Yeah,
Very cool.
I'm up in this area, and my son works for Ted Lansing Building Products in Ashland out near the Bass Pro Shop.
Very cool. Well, my guy is telling me that I need to wrap it up. But Chris, thank you for doing this. Thanks for being here tonight. It's a pretty cool honor for you to be able to be here for your dad.
To think of nothing, couldn't be more proud.
That's awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also really appreciate if you'd rate and review us. You can find us at scodupodcast.com.